Hey friends, Gary here, and today I want to talk about the Olympus 45mm f1.8, which is one of the hidden gem in Micro Four Thirds lens collection. The combination of the medium telephoto focal length, large aperture, great price, small and lightweight package creates a very desirable mini portrait lens which is affordable and also a great little bokeh machine. And that's exactly why I've been using this Olympus 45mm lens for more than 11 years since my early days with Micro Four Thirds. But does it still perform great now after so many years? Let's find out in today's video. First, let's talk about basic specification of the Olympus 45mm f1.8. I'm sure lots of you already know about the basic specs of this lens, but for those who are new to Micro Four Thirds, let me quickly mention the basic specs. So focal length 45mm, medium telephoto. I think it's nice for portrait and also close up and also distant landscape sceneries. F1.8 aperture, that's quite a big aperture. It really helps for low light situation and to create that nice background blur. And then the lens itself is actually quite small in terms of size, and it's also quite lightweight, so it's very easy to carry around, especially if you travel or you just want to walk around with a lens that doesn't weigh that much. And then the lens is actually quite simple. There's no buttons, there's no switches, there's no stabilizer on this lens, there's also no manual focus switch, that kind of stuff. There's no weather sealing, just a simple, straightforward kind of lens. And then what I want to say is that this lens is one of the lenses that represents the embodiment of the philosophy of Micro Four Thirds: small, lightweight, great image quality and great price. Now allow me to share some sample photos taken using the Olympus 45mm f1.8, and hopefully these photos can speak for themselves in terms of image quality. But right away, as you can see, the sharpness, the detail of this lens is quite outstanding, especially for the price. Everything just looks so nice and crispy and just overall very pleasing. There's plenty of contrast. Colors are also popping out really nicely on these pictures. And then one thing also, the background blur is very smooth. It's very nice and creamy. I just like it. Some people call it a little bit busy, but for me, the background blur doesn't look busy at all. I think it's just nice for what it is, as long as you don't overly analyze the detail of the background blur. Then I think this is a really nice lens for creating that bokeh kind of pictures. So yeah, again, perfect for portrait, close up, a little bit of distant landscape photography. Anyway, after using the Olympus 45mm since 2014, that was 11 years ago, what do I like from this lens? A lot actually. This is one of the original lenses that I bought for Micro Four Thirds and the one that I haven't sold yet so far and not broken also. So yeah, it's a testament to the build quality and to the overall robustness of the lens. First, I like that this lens is small and lightweight. I mean, look at this guy, as you can see on the camera right now. It's quite tiny. I can fit it inside the palm of my hand. It doesn't weigh that much, so it is perfect when you want something that is lightweight with a medium telephoto focal length. So yeah, this is a nice solution for getting that close up and also for a little bit of portrait photography as well. I mainly use the Olympus 45mm for a lot of portrait works, especially portraits of my wife, and I just enjoy using it. The focal length I think is very nice. Considering that this is a telephoto lens, 45mm is still forgiving. You still have enough room between you and the subject, but you don't have to move back too far, so you can still have this interaction between you and your subject. That's always nice. And then also the large aperture of f1.8. I think it really helps for that background blur, especially with Micro Four Thirds with its smaller sensor. You really struggle to get nice bokeh, and this really helps with that. This is one of the lenses that I choose if I need to create a nice background blur bokeh kind of photo. Another thing that I love from my Olympus 45mm is that this is a fun lens to use when I'm out and about in the field trying to take some portraits or distant landscape, or when I'm somewhere trying to create a nice close-up pictures. It's such an inspiring lens to use, and it makes photography more enjoyable, and it's also addicting. I cannot really stop taking pictures when I have this lens on my camera. This is not really a tangible kind of thing. This is very subjective when it comes to fun and inspiring. But trust me, a lens like this, when you put it on your camera and you start having fun with this lens, you cannot really stop. You want to take more pictures. And I think this is important. Photography isn't just about the end result. It's also about the experience, about the process of creating a photo. Do you enjoy that process or not? I think that's a really crucial factor of photography, and this lens really helps to make you enjoy that process. Now that I've shared the things that I like from the Olympus 45mm, I also want to share to you what I don't like from this lens after using it for more than 11 years. And right away, for landscape photography, I think this lens is slightly difficult to use. Not because it produces bad result, no, not at all, but the focal length, I think sometimes it's too tight, sometimes it's not tight enough. I think for landscape photography, it is better for you to have a zoom lens, something like the Panasonic Lumix 35 to 100mm f4 to f5.6, my favorite landscape telephoto lens here. I think this is a better choice than the Olympus 45. Also, if you want a one lens solution, then a super zoom like the Panasonic Lumix 14 to 140mm f3.5 to f5.6 could also be a nice choice for telephoto landscape lens. That doesn't mean that you cannot use the Olympus 45mm lens. You can definitely, and if the scenery is properly framed, then you can get some nice result with it. But from my own experience, it's a little bit tricky for landscape. Now, funny enough, for portrait, even though the 45mm can produce great result, oftentimes I much prefer to use my more impressive Olympus 75mm f1.8 simply because it has longer telephoto focal length, and thus it means more background blur and more compressions, both which are important for portrait photography. So yeah, sometimes I feel pity for my Olympus 45mm for not being my favorite telephoto lens. But you know, after some thoughts and consideration, I could call the Olympus 45mm the jack of all trades of my telephoto lens collection, especially when I need background blur. And admittedly, I don't really use the Olympus 45mm that much these days for those reasons, but still, I do not plan to sell this lens. I still try to make effort to bring this lens with me and to try to take some nice pictures with it, because again, as I said, it's just an addicting and fun lens once you install it to your camera and start taking pictures with it. I think the small size, the lightweight, the great result of this lens, and the focal length, the aperture, everything about this lens makes it a nice emergency portrait lens and also grab and go bokeh monster. And that's why I will keep using the Olympus 45mm lens in the future, and I hope to take some more nice pictures with it. Again, this is just sharing my experience after long-term usage of the Olympus 45mm. I do not force you to buy this lens or make you love this lens or anything like that. No, hopefully you can learn some things about this lens from this video and apply it to your photography, whether you have this lens or not, whether you are using micro four thirds or not. And regarding similar lens, as I mentioned, if you do landscape photography more often, something like the Panasonic 35 to 100mm can be a better choice for you. If you do portrait more often, the Olympus 75mm can be a better option for you. But if you just want a jack of all trades of medium telephoto focal length portrait lens, then the Olympus 45mm I think is the way to go. There's an alternative which is a Panasonic lumix lens, the 42.5mm f1.8. I think that is also a nice lens. Very similar focal length to this guy, very similar aperture to this guy, also small, also lightweight, but that guy has image stabilizer, so for some of you guys maybe that is important. You should check that out too. Anyway, that wraps up today's video. That is all for the Olympus 45mm. Hopefully this has been interesting, fun, inspiring, and yeah, please let me know on the comment down below. Let's have a little bit of a discussion. What is your favorite medium telephoto or portrait lens? Let me know on the comments down below. If you have any question, please comment down below as well. I will try my best to answer them. Also, don't forget to support my channel by liking this video, sharing this video, subscribing to my channel down below. And if you want to support my work even further, consider using the affiliate links there on the description below. Use the super thanks button or purchase my travel photography ebook. I will also put the link on the description down below so you can purchase it from my website. Thank you, and I will see you on the next video. Goodbye.